we are gonna do a really special video that will teach you the actual TCG format and how to actually be successful in any type of format in seals or drafts in Final Fantasy, the trading card game. Now, one of the reasons why I had to make this because I've been playing TCGs for a couple of weeks or maybe later, and I started to notice that a lot of players who actually play the seal format usually got the ass handed. One of the reasons why is because if you notice the deck structure, they are using a multicolor deck. Now, it is good to have variety and some uniqueness and differentiations in your card play. That's fine. But if you have too much of the different colors that are scattered around, it's gonna be difficult to find that card. You have to pay energy. The biggest problem with this type of format is that the multicolored deck format will always make you fail and it will win. So if you play Master of the Galaxy or never played the TCG or Final Fantasy, you're yuck. So today, we are going to play. So we are going to construct an old deck using one of the Ultra Pro boxes. Now, the way you actually construct the deck is actually simple. You just need to find a beta card magnetic, find the best cards you can actually use for tournaments, and make sure you actually win. Well, that may be true, but that's actually a superstition. The only way you could win is that you have to have a deck that has the exact same colors. Now, since Final Fantasy utilizes mana points or crystal points, you need to make sure that your cards are kind of different, not the same. So as you see from this pre-release kit that I have, we are going to try to construct a deck using only fire decks. Now, the biggest problem with having multicolor is that you will always fail most of the time. So what we're trying to do is that we are trying to have a deck that's only ice, nothing else. So since in Final Fantasy TCG, the maximum amount of cards you can only have is 50. And since we try to have a deck that's only contain 50 to make sure it's not shady, we have to construct a deck that's only fire based. So as you might know, I bought a lot of booster packs from a hole. Now, you could say you can make a water deck, which is good. Now, the thing is that in this TCG, you need a couple of backups and forwards for your mana points. Backups act as a huge mana point because most backups really act as a huge mana point due to the fact. And because backups really serve as the purpose for any scenario, you need to have a better inventory. So in this type of format, what I'm trying to do is that I try to find some cards that are only water based. So since we are trying to fit the maximum amount to 50 cards, you need to make sure you have a better maneuver. So part of the reasons why I use a same card deck is because if you're playing a seal format or if you're playing a draft format, you will often use one at a time. If you have the exact same card that's the same, you could usually win. You could usually win multiple times. It's really easy to the point because when you saw at the start of your turn, if you and an opponent has to suffer by default, it will make it more easier to actually pick up the cards that you actually wanted. It saves you more time, and it's not so difficult to even find it also. Plus, if you're playing draft and you're playing standard, it will make it easier to actually win. So if you noticed from before, I'm using only the blue colors, the water variations. I'm not using any other color besides the summons. Now, what makes this deck different is that there's a lot of EXC summons and a lot of backups. Now, technically, in this type of TCG, you could use a ton of. Now, in this TCG, you could use forwards, backups, and summons as a source to generate TCP. But at the same time, when it comes to backups, once you put the backup in the field, you can only do one thing with this tap or draw. So if you draw a card, you only get 1 CP, but if you discard it in the playfield, you only get 2 CP. And since I didn't know this was an actual foil for my yesterday's unboxing, I'm gonna put this in sleep, but I will probably say that I bought a lot of booster packs from before. I bought a lot of booster packs from this card, and there's a lot of cards that I managed to buy. I spent about $95, plus I had to get all the deck boxes to fill my collection. Now, usually I will use foil cards for aesthetic purposes, but since they are not important, most of the foils are not above for training purposes, so they have no uses besides the fact that they only have one utility, is that you could only use it for draft. Most of the time when you actually have these cards that are so shiny or have kind of a foil to it, you tend not to actually use this card, only use this card for collector's editions. If you try to collect all of the rare cards from all your inventory, it's best not to use 4 cards, that's the case. Now, try to construct the water deck. Now, as you can see, most of my cards have the same elemental factors to them. They're not a rainbow deck, they are different. And because of this deck is actually mostly simple to use. Now, a lot of times you could get some cards that have a additional text between them. Sometimes we get these type of cards that have additional text, and it's pretty much your job to actually make sure you actually control it. Part of the reason why you just have to, I don't know, play test this card and actually educate yourself, but most of the time you don't have to play this card as you actually want to. You could just actually discard this card in the player field for 2 CP, and that's pretty much it. Some of these cards are not that much necessary to put in the playing field. You could usually just discard these cards in your CP. It's really easy to actually own CP in this game as long as you actually know how to strategize it. And if you have the same summon check card, it will make the playfield more simple. For now, I'm trying to get a couple of more forwards. And since I have more cards, we might as well pick. Now, if you can't find some of the cards of the specific card you try to get to be your deck, buying a bomb booster pack will somewhat help, but starter kits seems to have more of a value. Now, as I said before, I don't use foil cards more often. I tend to only use standard cards, these. Now, I mean, there might be a chance you might accomplish that. But as I said, the way you actually win is actually random. You technically could try to actually find a decent format, but it usually depends on your playing style. Now, when it comes to foils, I don't really use the shiny variations because, one, these are usually well, although these actually are common to find, including the backups. Now, as you can see from this playing field, I have a lot of backups, foils, and many else. And sometimes when it comes to these cards that have a 2-paragraph text into them, you pretty much have to double check your cards before you actually have. And as you should know is that when it comes to playing the card, you can only have 3 copies of the same card. So even if it was a summon, you can only have 3 of the exact same copies for a summon. These apply to backup cards and foil cards. So you can only have 3 of the exact same copy. Now with monster cards, they are kind of different because they serve as foils, but in a different context. When it comes to monster cards, they only serve as forward cards, but the difference between that is that they have some of utility. It's kind of difficult to delineate the difference between a backup and a forward card because monster cards really act as both. You wouldn't notice if Square Enix actually give a better maneuver, not keep their own counters fake. Now you may be wondering, why do I have so many forward cards, backups? Well, you can have so many backups. You just need to keep. You can only have only 3 copies of the exact same card they are using, so you have to utilize it to your point. And once you have a lot of maneuvers, you can actually win a couple of matches. And when you first start a match in a couple of hard, keep your deck simple is the only way you can actually win. Because if you have a deck that's too complicated, you have more chances to actually lose, and you won't get the 6 booster packs you always wanted. This is actually necessary in Sealed format because since you only get 6 booster packs, you need to make sure that you pick the right card at the right format. If you pick the same card, if you have a multi-card deck, you will effectively use. Now, granted, you could use easily if you only have limited amount of cards in your deck and you actually use. That may be true, but once you actually utilize this and understand your playing field, you will actually win in some cases. But since you actually must have 50 cards, you need to count how many you have. Now, in Sealed formats, you can only have 41 cards in your entire deck. When in draft, it seems to be different. In pretty much in simplified Sealed, you can only have 41 cards. It's 40 if you now 41 is the recommended amount of cards you want to put, but when it comes to do high tier play, sometimes these cards will have an EX boost to them, and you need to try to where you actually want to put your cards. This type of trading card game is actually different than Magic the Gathering, and it's actually different from anything else. But you just need to actually have some patience and actually have some maneuver it. Once you have the time to actually understand how this game card works or how this GTG format works, you could actually be successful to some extent, and you could actually get a higher win streak, and you actually could win. So as you might know, I'm looking for all my open booster packs cards and try to find some cards that have a water matter CP into the field. Which is being because water CP seems to have if you have more water CP as a whole, you could actually get the better playing field into the mix. And since I don't have any CP, now this whole process might take longer as it should. It depends on your personal preference. And since we finished searching up this card, that's pretty much done to it. Now there's more to where this come, and we're not actually done with this fall format. Sometimes getting these cards out of the Ultra Pro boxes are kinda different, but you just need to have some time into them. Since I opened 16 booster packs, I think I have a lot of 400 cards in my inventory. I don't know well because I could try to count them, but I use more count over on. But and it's really that simple to actually construct a one CP card deck. You could actually try to create a single card CP deck. It's actually simple because if you have to solve for the deck because of legal purposes, it will make it more easy. Because even though your cards are kind of randomized, you could pretty much have a sense of ease because you knew that because your deck is actually simple to actually pick up. because since if all your cards are actually all the same mana, you could just pick up any card of this pick of mana, and you could actually win and not going to quick ease. That's the whole beneficial of a. That is the benefit of not having a multi-card deck, because if you have multi-card, it would be difficult to actually pick up the deck, and it's actually simplistic to actually pick out. Now, when it comes to summon cards, once you use that summon on your turn, it goes straight to the graveyard. So most of the time, it takes a lot of strategy, but since I have used the exact same card, it's actually simple. Now with there will be some cards that have a dark and light mana. Now with dark and light mana, you could pay this card with any CP of any element. It doesn't really matter what CP. You can use a water CP on this dark card, and you can also use. Now there's a trick to this, and you usually have to try to search what you have. When it comes to light and dark type CP cards, you have to proceed with caution or have to use some strategy. Now with these type of cards, you could pay any type of card. You can use any type of CP of any element to pay this type of card. So
you are sitting weird.
So in some cases, you could put this card in your water deck, and it'd be
that's better.
And it's better to say the least, because one, you could pay this card in any can enable you to actually use any CP. It's a great backup, and you don't have to worry about trying to find the corresponding CP that you only find it. But other than that, the chances that you finding these type of dark cards are kind of random, because only with booster packs you need to actually open. I think
Ouija board is a better game than this.
And sometimes you need to have a better maneuver or one. Now, once I've managed to count how many cards I have, since you only have a 50 card deck, I'm going to count all 50 of them so I don't oversee my limit. And when I do have a promo card, sometimes you need to make sure that your cards are actually in the right order. So in order to decrease suspicion that you have more than 50 cards, you need to actually count them beforehand. One of the reasons why, because a lot of Xbox will usually become skeptic. A lot of salty players will usually become so heated up they saying that you use more than 50 cards. I ain't one of those people that play fair, but some of the times what you have to understand is that some of these people will become so skeptic. Now, when it comes to building your own format from the ground up, you need to actually cut these cards before you actually make a complete ass of yourselves. One reason being is that sometimes these cards will be kind of difficult to maneuver, or some of these cards are kind of hard to differentiate. Well, I didn't really read the rules about the game. You can only have a limited amount of cards in your inventory.
Cool guide.
I'm not sure what they have, but the way they actually program it is actually kind of different than any other TCG format. So you have to use some maneuvers if you want to get. And it does actually fit. Now, if we use some cards for the starter deck, and really, if you keep your cards simple and not so difficult or over the place, you could actually win a standard match with a very perfect win streak.
This is helpful.
Because most of the time, the reason why I'm making this guide, because a lot of opponents that I play against, they always use cards that are so mixed. And when I say mixed, a lot of people will have multi-colored decks that have. For example, there will be some players that will have a fire, water, lightning, earth, and a.
Why are you sitting like that?
A light type CP cards. I mean, that's fine. That's your personal preference. But if you try to win a match competitively, it will be difficult, because if you have a water, if you have 10 waters, 10 fires and 10 oaths
Hello.
and 10 lightnings and have 10 dark cards, it's gonna be more difficult to actually pick the cards, because when you have to shuffle these cards, it will be difficult to find that card they have to pay. Let's say you have a 4 card, they have to pay 4 manas, or 3 manas to be exact. Oh, what if this card
You
was...
sit like
Well, you have this water card, but you have 3 fire cards. You can't pay this water card with fire CP, so you have to discard it at any turn. If you do that, you would get more kill more often. And that's the biggest problem a lot of these TCG players really have. Now granted, they are beginners, but most of the time if you're trying to have a better win streak and try to play competitive, it's better to have a single card deck, because it's really easy to organize, really easy to pick up, and it's not so difficult to keep it complicated. 99% of the time, the average player they actually play this, they will pick a rainbow deck and it will actually kill them. I know this because I used to play my first starter match is a Master the Guarantee match. And part of the problem I have so far is that I pick a construction deck that is so rainbow, that is so auto-praised, that I lost my first match. And most of the time, what you have to keep in mind is that what I learned so far is that if you keep your deck simple and not random, it will make it more simple to actually find some cards you actually need. Because if you want to make some last minute changes, it will make it more simple to actually pick up the cards that you actually want. If you take this advice to a grain of salt, you will get the highest win streak possible. And sometimes having a one single mana card will make it mostly simple, because you need to generate some crystal points if you want to win. It will make it more simple, and once you actually get used to it, you will understand that you will win more matches than ever. I know this because a lot of people will have a random card deck, and it will make them mostly fail more often. Since we don't have any cards left, we might as well put this in this specific deck box.
Penis.
And I am running out of space to put my TCGs. Holy crap. Sometimes the deck boxes are kind of hard to maneuver, but give it time and you actually
penis,
have some time.
vagina.
Now, when it comes to these type of form, now you need to count. Now let's see if we have enough cards, and I will try to count how many we really have, because I have tendencies to lose count over one.
Vagina.
Okay. So let's see how many cards we actually have. Since we actually spent more time trying to construct this water deck, we need to make sure we have the legitimate amount of cards we actually have in our deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So we only have 30 cards in our deck, and that's not enough. That's not really enough when you try to use it. It's better to have 50 cards as a whole, because one,
Bunhole.
you need to have a higher deck count. Now another way you could use in this type of game is if you use all your cards in your deck. And I will show you the cards I have on my period.
Diarrhea.
Now these are cards I got from the periods that I paid $40 too. And it was actually one of those cards I have. It also comes with these type of sleeves that are maneuver.
Vagina, diarrhea.
Now this is my deck that I play on the periods, and this is my time I use. When I have this type of deck, when I have random card CPs, this is the reason why I have 1 win and 2 losses. because a lot of people were using the same card, and most of the time they were using some decks that are actually carefully constructed. So I say that I have a better maneuver when it comes to these type of formats. Once you have a decent sized pool, you could usually win more often. Now, knowing me, you need a lot of card sleeves if you actually want to keep your cards organized. It will be difficult to actually organize your cards later on, but once you actually play by the rules, you could easily win your first matches. Now I know this from my heart.
Gonorrhea, 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 hello, gonorrhea, poop.
I know this from the start, because a lot of times when players want to play a multi-card deck, they will always fail. So that's where you have to understand is that keeping your deck simple is what makes you win. Now on certain formats, when you have to have your own booster pack, that's where the gameplay can become something different. Now if you want to have a better deck structure in seal format, one of the tips I could give you is that still use this into consideration. I'm not sure if this was a foil card, but I had to double check. Anyhow, if you're playing Final Fantasy,
Of poop, poop stink, you stink of poop, poop stink.
Now if you're playing this game on a serial format, what you have to understand is that serial formats, and since you're only allowed to open 6 booster packs and have to construct your own deck, you have to have some strategy into it. Sometimes it gets more difficult over on, but other times once you actually understand the card maneuver, you will pretty much well win every time. And I have more of a green mana than ever before, so it's actually difficult to me. But we are having a good start with this type of format. Now you could play this type of deck, and now you could try to play a rainbow deck. I don't really care if you play any other deck, that's fine. But if you play this at a tournament or any else, you will actually fail. It's way better to actually keep your deck simple to the point. So we have 30 cards. So let's count. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. And since we don't have enough water mana yet, we might as well start this. Now,
Pong dong 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 kong kong dong dong kong kong dong.
Now this is the Opus 5 series, and the time these cards originated from the Opus 5 series.